So it's now 2022, and this particular day I was at work and I had a text message off a mate that was in a Beatles tribute band that I've known for years, asking me if I wanted to join his band. And so I said, you've got time to think about it. And at the time I was just like, nah, don't need to think about it. I'll join. I'll join it. But at the time, all I had was a couple of snare drums. One was in beats because it was like a mess around snare drum, metal snare drum. So I needed a kit. This band that my brother was in knew this his drummer that I knew. I sort of asked him, I was like, have you got any kits that you want to sell? And he was like, yeah, I've got this little kit. And it was like a 20-inch bass drum, 12, 14 toms, and I got this kit off him. So I thought, right, let's get it to like as close to this, Beatles kit that I can. So I could have sort of tidied it all up, sanded all the bearing edges down, found a drum wrap shop in the UK, which no longer exists, sadly. Ordered the wrap, and I got it wrapped, and got it as close to this Beatles kit that I could. We added a little rail mount on the bass drum, and I used that for 5 or 6 months. And then I thought, I wanted the bigger kit. I wanted the 22. So looking through eBay, Facebook, the prices of these Beatles kits, and I'm like, there's no way I don't really want to pay that much for a kit that I don't sort of particularly like. And it has also put me off from my last kit, my first original kit back in 1999 with the warp snare drum. So it sort of kind of put me off with that. So I ended up finding this 4-piece kit, 2 toms, floor, bass drum, with kind of the same wood as the Beatles kit, made around the same era, if not slightly later. So I got that, and I stripped that. I think I paid about 80 quid for it, 85 quid in the end. Stripped that, because it was all painted black, so I had to get most of the paint off. Painted the inside of the shell, so it looked the same. Kept the lugs, so I just cleaned all the lugs up, and got some more wrap and wrapped these drums, and then put the rail back on, on this bass drum, and that was the kit that I used for a year or so. And that sounded a nice kit. The snare drum, because I didn't have a snare drum, a matching snare drum. I looked around for a snare drum. All again stupidly priced. I think Tholman at the time was doing, or they've recently done one, through the company, through the drum company, and that's over £1,000. And I thought, for a bit of wood, £1,000 for a bit of wood that, So just trying to think as if I can get to do this as best as I could. So I thought, right, I'm not paying £1,000. Let's find an alternative again. So I was scooting, like I said, scooting Facebook Marketplace. Nothing was coming up. Looking on eBay and that, nothing. I thought, right, let's look at see if I can find a shell making company. Look, a drum making company. So looked, on the internet, and up pops AC drums, and the rest, as I say, is history. And this will take me on to my next section, which is the snare drum, my first snare drum from AC Drums. So enjoy the rest of the videos. Well, I was looking through this AC Drum company, their webpage, their catalogue and stuff, what they did, and came across the vintage shell section, which was mahogany and maple support rings. And I thought, brilliant. So I ordered a shell. which I waited, I think it was about 3 weeks for, because it was, you know, sort of made to order, and got the shell and started doing it up. I had an old shell which luckily with the same lugs as the kit I've just built up, so I sort of transferred all the lugs onto this shell, but I didn't have any, you know, the thing to go off to where to put the lugs. So I did this this method of putting the two shells together and then marking the holes and then turning it in together to mark the next holes, turning it again, mark the next holes, you know, and sort of try and line it up that way, which kind of didn't work. And then I also then had the idea of putting paper around the shell, marking where the holes were, and then taking the paper off and putting it onto this shell that I've made, and then remarking the holes. So that worked to the best of, you know, my ability, and then came up with this shell. Sort of painted the inside, got it wrapped, and I used that shell with the band, you know, on the setup for, you know, well, I've still, like I say, I've still got the shell now, but it went through a couple of changes. It went through a wrap change because I stopped using that shell for some reason. I think it's because I went back on the ship, I can't remember. But I used that shell, like I say, wrap change, so I changed it to I think it was a white abalone shell wrap, and then eventually it went back to the pearl, you know, the black oyster wrap, and I then thought, right, I'm going to find a shell, find a snare drum with these fittings on, which is the, you know, the same thing as the, you know, as this snare, and I bought this shell, I think it's for 80 quid, this snare for 80 quid, and took the bits off, and I had to re-drill bits and dabs on this shell, and it come up as this, and this is the original shell that I had made in 2022. It's the mahogany, you know, shell with a with a maple, you know, with the maple re-rings, and these are the lugs that I took off this snare that I bought and put it onto this one to make it look more, you know, like the what it's supposed to look like, which I'm pleased of. And that said, this is my first sound video, so if you want to put your headphones on to get the full sound, please do. And this is this shell in action. Cheers. So, not long after that, my next involvement with AC drums, I had a drum kit. I bought a drum kit, and the snare drum that come with the drum kit didn't have any snare bed, and it was horrible to play. I couldn't get the tuning right, and it felt weird. So I had a look back on the website, and I saw that he did walnut drums, walnut shells, and the kit that I had was made from walnut and maple, and I thought, well, I might just get a walnut shell and kind of do the same thing. We made the shell, and then the snare that I had with the kit, I took all the bits off, meshed up all the holes again to the best, to the best I could, and put it on this shell. And this is the result. Like I say, it's walnut shell. I got him to, sort of finish it off in a matte black, which is what the rest of the kit looks like. Those that have seen my videos have probably seen the kit on the videos. But and I got him to make this shell and put the bits on off the other snare, off the original snare shell onto this, and it sounds absolutely gorgeous. I do like it. So if you would, here is the sound video of this drum. As a drummer, I find that a snare drum can be more of a personal choice. It's not just having a drum set in front of you, made out of a certain wood, certain depth, blah blah blah. Snare drum, I find, is a more personal thing to yourself. And with me, through my years of drumming, I've had some snare drums, like I say, that's been, one of these that's mass produced, and you can get them for 10 a penny, and every other drummer's using them, or you can get these drums that have got a certain person's signature on, like it's a signature snare. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have your own signature to yourself, not to sell, but to yourself, a signature snare drum, or a snare drum that's personal to you, made for you. Nobody else has got one, and it's to you. So my next involvement with AC drums was I got him to make me a snare, not just a shell, but a snare. I went through with all the stuff with him. I went through my favourite woods, finishes, etc, etc, and he made me this. And this is my, well, I would say it's my baby. This was made, and I've called it my anniversary snare, and because it was made around the time my wedding anniversary. And this is basically what it is a maple shell with all brass hardware, finished in another of my favourite of woods, which is bird's eye maple. So that's black oil stained bird's eye maple. And then to top it off, the pierre de la résistance is the snare butt, and the snare mechanism is 22 or 24 karat gold plated, and it's gorgeous. It's kind of a snare personal to me, but it's also a heirloom. It's one of these that probably never get played, but if it does, it'll be a special occasion, or I'm recording something specific, or I want to use it for something specific. It's going to be looked at more than it's going to be hit. And this is the sound video for that snare drum. Enjoy. So after having that snare drum made, I felt myself, and I was more than happy with the snare drum, the full build snare drum and the shells, and playing them. I felt myself not just getting in, sort of attached to this company professionally, but also personally. It was like, every drum now that I wanted was going to be through this company, because I just loved, and loved what he does. So we got chatting and stuff anyway, and he sort of asked me if I wanted to record some drums, demo some drums for him that he's been making. His own drum kit, AC drums drum kit. And I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, I'll you'd do anything, It involved drums, I'll do it. So met him and met halfway. We got chatting, and I had these couple of snares as well to demo, and brought them home and tuned them up. This one kit, it's called the Maker's Mark, which is a gorgeous kit. Obviously the different coloured drums with the different colours that you can do, what the choice of colours for that kit, and played it, and it sounded great, even though it was a mixture of wood. I think it was a maple bass drum, 2 birch toms and 2 beech claw. All together it sounded brilliant. I think you got the best out of the woods in that kit. You got the best out of the maple in the bass drum, the best out of the birch in toms for the attack, and the best out of the beech, for the floor toms for the the growl. That was a great kit to record, like with a few snare drums, as I said. And then after that he did another kit called the MVP, which he wanted me to demo and record as well, and I got that back, tuned that up and got it into the studio, and it was, and I saw it, and I was just tapping on it and playing it before put the in-ears in to record, and it just blew me away. That kit absolutely blew me away. Everything about it, the colour, the lugs, the finish and the sound, and I think I fell in love with that kit to a point where as soon as I got the money I'll definitely be ordering one, but obviously a bigger one. It was a nice kit. So I kind of fell in love with that one, as you can tell at the end of the video if you watch the video. But yeah, I had a few snares to do as well, a couple of metal snares and these snares that he'd done, and I just thought, what a chuffing great company that's, there's him making these shells to order. It's not just a mass-produced drum or a mass-produced drum set. It's a made to order, and the care and attention and the detail that goes into these drums. Like I say, I've never had a bad shell. This is sort of speaking now. I've got another 3 shells to go through yet, drum shells and snare drum shells. I've never had a bad shell. I've loved every drum that he's made me, and yeah, so I do support this company, and I love what he does. Also, to the fact of becoming an ambassador to the company, which I'm absolutely over the moon with, because every drum or drum set that I'll play, whether it be live or in the studio or what, the snare drum or our drum will be an AC drum, and because because I've got a snare personal to me, I'll be using that drum if I'm doing a gig, or if I'm doing a Beatles gig, I've got the Beatles snare drum to go with that gig. So either way, I will always have an AC drum with me. But yeah, and then I thought, now I'm ambassador, let's have another snare drum. So this leads me on to my next. So this snare drum I got him to make, as I said in the past video, a snare drum is a personal thing, can be a personal thing. So I got him to do me a full build. It was my 50th birthday in 2024, so I wanted something to celebrate my 50th. As I said, my favourite wood is maple. Also, my favourite wood is beech, as well as bird's eye maple. So I got him to make me this drum. Now, this drum is chuffing special, and like I say, it's just natural. I just want everything, the wood natural. I didn't want it coloured. I just wanted a natural finish of the shell. You know, and it's got the trick throw, which I like. On the other snare drum it was gold. This one's just a black one with all black hardware, as you can see. The underneath, like the shell itself, you'll see a better picture of it anyway, but it's a thick wedge of beech, and it sounds absolutely bloody gorgeous. And it's this is a snare for my 50th, and I'd like you to hear it, so please take a listen to what this sounds like. Thanks. So, as well as snare drums, I then decided to have a drum kit made. Now, going back, the story behind this kit, going back to the 1990s, there was a kit I played for the latter part of the 90s called a Signia, and to me that's probably the best kit I've ever played. In my eyes, and it was maple and beech wood. So I said to Carl, can you make me these shells, maple and beech? So he made that, and I am in the originally it was white marine pearl, and I had it up as a 1 up 2 down set, and then as I wanted a few more drums, the wrap company that I used sort of stopped making wraps, and I thought, right, I'm gonna have a go at staining the shell. So then I took everything apart again, had these shells, to do, and this is the stain I go up with, which is a petrol blue, finished in a natural, in a matte finish, not a shiny finish. And all through, it was Carl, how do I do this, how do I make this, and he was like, he showed, telling me the process. And now this is what I come up with, this is what's happened, this is the outcome. It's a gorgeous shell, gorgeous finish, and I can't wait for it to all be done and finished, so I can sort of re-record the kit as a whole, which watch this space. But that's the kit coming on to yeah, looking forward to that one. Yeah. So as I liked the sound of that shell, the first shell I ever had made from this company, which was the mahogany and maple, the vintage shell, I thought, let's have a shell for myself nothing to do with the Beatles or certain drums and stuff. Let's just have a shell for myself. So I ordered the shell as well as the hardware. In a certain a certain finish in brass, and because it was mahogany, I felt like mahogany has got a colour of its own, so I kept it natural to do. Didn't paint the inside, it just kept it all natural, and decided to call the drum Eleanor, which is named after my daughter. So this is the drum, and this is an absolute stunner. It sounds gorgeous to play. It's a great sounding drum. I used it on my last, if those that watch, I used it on my last videos, a couple of songs on there. It's beautiful. It's, like I say, it's all natural. It's mahogany, it's all the brass stuff. It's a pleasure to play. Like I said, I tried it out for the first time the other week and totally impressed, as you will. So please take a listen to the snare drum Eleanor. Thank you. So, last but and probably not least in my elite of snares, back on my 50th, Carl from IC Drums gave me a shell and went, here's a shell for you. And it was a nice looking shell. It was actually cherry shell with birch support rings, and I had that and sort of left it there, on the side, thinking, what can I do with it? How can I go about this? Shall I shall I paint it? Shall I wrap it? Shall I blah blah? What can I do with it? But anyway, I decided I had a snare drum that was sat there that I'd had for a few years. Like a named drum. It wasn't an expensive drum. It was just a named drum, and I thought, I wonder if I can do what I did before, put those lugs and all those fittings onto this shell. And, I've got this drum. So I did that, measured it all up, got the lugs on, and this is the shell. This is how it turned out. And this is not that old. Like I say, I've probably been using this now for about a month. Which I've done a couple of things with it, and to be honest, it sounds fucking gorgeous. And I'm sorry for swearing, but it's because of the depth, because of the wood, and just everything about it. I think this is one of my favourite snares to play, to use, other than obviously the snares that I have to use. The other two snares I had made, it'll probably be heirlooms. They'll just sit in the case, and I'll sort of have a look at them every now and again, and they'll get used on special occasions. I think whilst I'm at home, whilst I'm in studio or playing with, whatever comes up, unless it's the Beatles thing, I think this will be my go-to snare. It sounds bloody gorgeous. I just love just everything about it. It's I'm surprised. I've never played a cherry wood before, especially with a birch. But I've never played a cherry wood. But it sounds gorgeous. I love the sound of it. So please take a listen. to this drum. Thank you. So, you're probably wondering why I've made this video. In my 45 years of playing drums, I've had quite a few number of drum kits that I've ended up owning and playing and moving on. And there've been kits from your run-of-the-mill kits, your top-of-the-range kits, your overpriced kits for what they were and what they are. And it's now great to find a company that's, as a drummer, on a more personal level. There's not every day you can order a snare drum from somebody from these big companies and you get it made to order in your spec that you want, unless you're famous, of course, and put your famous signature on it and all this and all that. So with AC drums, I could do that, and as well as have complete snare builds and personal snares for me, where nobody else in the world has one, unless, you know, somebody orders the same one from the same company. I have my own personal drums. I have my own personal, you know, sort of shells that are made for me, which are great. They're all fantastically built, well built. The guy is brilliant and should be up there with the rest of them. And this is why I've done this video. It's to sort of make you, you know, realise that there's companies out there, small companies, that need more recognition. And I want to, you know, give him that recognition, give this company that recognition, because they're great in the field for what they do. And I will always play AC drums now. I will never buy, you know, a drum from a major company, because I will always go to him first. If there's a drum I need or a drum I would like, I would sort of say, Carl, can you make me this drum in this wood, you know, and this finish, etc., etc. And I know he'd do it. And, you know, it's not, doesn't always work out, you know, expensive as to what you think. And I want people out there to realise, and becoming an ambassador, I'm not doing this to sell this company, I'm doing this because I love this company and I love everything they produce. The drum kits I've played that he's made, even to, you know, the first shell that he made me back in 2022, I've still got, I still use, I still play, and I will always play these drums. And I want other people to sort of find this company and realise the same thing. It's not all just down to a name. It's, you know, a big company naming drums. So give these guys a try and have a look at the YouTube videos and the Facebook page and the Instagram page and see what they're all about, and give them a go. Order a shell, order a full build, whatever, just do it. You know, it's great. Plus it's all made in the UK. You'll be quite surprised. So on that note, thank you for watching, if you've happened to watch it all, and I shall see you on the next video. Take care and goodbye.